Hello, ladies. I'm feeling especially zesty today. Are you? Yep, I've got an extra strong dose of menopausal zest. Oh, you don't know what menopausal zest is? Oh my. You want to know about menopausal zest. It's just about the best thing on earth. You know how we've talked about denial of menopause and the menopausal identity crisis? Well, menopausal zest is the opposite of those things. It's when you rejoice in the fact that you're menopausal. You take advantage of the fact that you can pour yourself into something you really care about, and you pursue whatever you want to do with passion and verve. You don't care what anyone else thinks, and you don't worry about embarrassing yourself, and you don't slow down for anyone or anything. You just surge ahead and do your thing, whatever it is. And all the while, you are wearing a great big smile. It's like what I'm doing with this whole menopause movement. Remember when you were younger and you doubted yourself? Well, if you've got menopausal zest, there is no time for doubt. And remember when you'd second guess yourself, vacillating between whether you should or shouldn't do something? Well, you're not going to bother with that at all if you're full of menopausal zest. And you remember when you worried about offending someone, so you tiptoed around to get a feel for other people's responses to your actions before you actually did anything? Well, if you've got menopausal zest, you don't care about anyone's toes but your own. If they don't want to get their toes stepped on, they can move them out of the way. And if you do step on a toe or two here and there, well, that's fine too. They've got extra toes. They'll get over it. Hey, remember when your most frequent words were, "Anything's fine with me"? You went along with what everyone else wanted to do. Why? Because you wanted peace at all times. Well, a little menopausal zest will change your vocabulary in a heartbeat. Now it'll be, "I'll do my own thing, thank you very much." You see, it's healthy to shake things up and disturb the peace once in a while. How about this? Do you remember when the word no was a nasty two-letter word? Funny, at menopause, it suddenly becomes your very favorite word. And you remember when you wanted to tell someone off, but you'd hold back and tell yourself, "I can't do that." So instead you bit your lip and you stifled your feelings. Ha! Lip biting and menopausal zest do not mix. Now you'll give someone a piece of your mind just as fast as you used to give them your share of dessert. And now instead of saying, "I can't do that," you're likely to say, "Challenge taken." You see, menopausal zest has many forms. Margaret Mead said, "There is no more creative force in the world than the menopausal woman with zest." Oh, I love that. Do you remember that movie called Calendar Girls with Helen Mirren? It's about this British women's club that's trying to raise money for a charity at the hospital. And the club consists of nothing but middle-aged women, all very conservative housewives. And they decide to pose naked for a pin-up calendar. And it turns out to be this huge success. And it's a big hit in the town. And they raise over $1 million for the local hospital. That, my dears, is an example of menopausal zest. It's when you turn your negatives into positives. I have a personal menopausal zest story. Back in 2001, when I'd already been menopausal for 7 years, severe arthritis interfered with my ability to continue practicing obstetrics and gynecology. And you have to understand that practicing OB-GYN in the clinical setting with delivering babies, taking care of women, doing surgical procedures every day to improve a woman's life, or even saving lives. That was my dream life. And then, poof, arthritis wiped it all out. I had had everything I ever wanted, and then it was gone. And it was the most devastating thing I could possibly imagine. And I didn't even have to imagine it because it actually happened to me. And so for me, that was the absolute worst thing that could possibly occur. But I didn't go home, stop moving, and end up in a wheelchair as my physicians had prognosticated. I just refused to succumb to my disease, and instead I adopted a fitness program to accommodate and mitigate my arthritis. And look, I'm fully mobile. I'm super fit. You know, I didn't decide I had nothing more to offer women. Instead, I wrote a book on menopause and eventually started making these videos for you. So, in essence, I turned my tragic retirement into your tailored, unbiased education on menopause. Here's another example. You know, when a group of menopausal women all get together and just go on a fun vacation abroad and just leave their families at home, that's menopausal zest. I mean, think about it. While you were busy raising your family and being a good wife and perfect mother, how often did you say, "Hey, family, I'm out of here. I'm going on a vacation with the girls. Don't call me. I'll see you in a week"? Probably never. Instead, you probably went on camping trips, of all things, even though you hated them. Why? Because the husband and kids liked them, right? I mean, camping! Isn't that paying a bunch of money to leave your lovely home and go live like a homeless person? I mean, that makes no sense to me. Or maybe you went on a family vacation and you tried to make your friends believe you actually had a good time. I mean, don't you know that the words family and vacation do not go together? I mean, when you're with your family, it is no vacation. All it is being in an unfamiliar environment with a bunch of tired kids engaging in sibling rivalry while you're trying to perform your maid and mommy duties away from home. Heck, it's more stressful than life at home. It's not less stressful. When your menopausal girlfriends say, "Hey, let's train to run a marathon," and you all take the challenge, that's menopausal zest. I mean, it doesn't matter that none of you has ever run, any kind of race before, and it doesn't matter that you're a little overweight or out of shape. You guys all start training together and you laugh the entire way. Or maybe you face a different kind of challenge. I have a girlfriend named Vanessa who has had breast cancer twice. And with all the chemotherapy, she went completely and permanently bald. Now, being bald is a big deal, right? But she didn't buy a wig and try to hide it. She decided to flaunt it. So she shaves the few hairs she has, and she sports a completely smooth, bald head. She says, "I have one boob and a bald head, and I'm hot." Here she is. And here are the two of us at high tea in Cape Town. You know, I just love this woman. She just takes what she's got and goes with it. So here's another example. When you decide that all the jewelry you've been making is the foundation for a fine little business and you go for it, even though you've never worked a day in your life, that is menopausal zest. Did you know that menopausal women start more new businesses than middle-aged men? You know, I'd say menopause isn't about hot flashes. I'd say it's about power surges. When you decide to go to college alongside your son and you graduate first in the class, that is menopausal zest. It's finally your turn and nothing is going to stop you. Or Maybe you're divorced and you decide to date that young man who could be your son. You become a cougar and have the best sex of your life. And then, there's the kind of menopausal zest that's just plain, funny. Things that you do that are kind of funny. I happen to have really close, special relationships with a lot of my patients and their children. Children I delivered. So I'll tell you a story about one of them. I've mentioned her before. Her name's Tina, but I'll tell you more of our story. So Tina came to me in 1989 when she was pregnant with her first child. And she's a tiny little Italian woman, and she came into her obstetrics visits and we hit it off right away. And when you're pregnant, you come in every 4 weeks for a while, and then it's every 2 weeks, and then it's every week. So you have these regular visits all the time. And her husband, Wes, would always come with her to all her appointments. And here, I thought Wes was just so dedicated to his wife and the pregnancy, and he is. But later he revealed that he really wanted to see what I was wearing. So Wes came to every obstetric visit. And because I saw Wes and Tina all the time, we became really close. So, in 1990, I delivered her daughter, Lauren. It was a nice vaginal delivery. Everything was easy, wonderful, and great. And then 4 years later, she was pregnant again with her son. And we had all our visits and everything, and she was due the second week in January. Now, Tina is a tiny little Italian woman. Teeny weeny tiny. And as an Italian woman, she loves to cook. And so every Christmas Eve, she has this great big party for about 40 people, friends and family. She invites everybody to her house and has a great big Christmas Eve dinner. So she would always invite me to this event, and I would go on a regular basis. But in 1994, I had just built my house and was hosting Christmas Eve at my house. So it was Barbie's dream house. You know Barbie has a dream house, right? So I wasn't able to go to her Christmas Eve dinner. So at 10:15 Christmas Eve night, Tina called me and she said, my water broke. So I sent her to labor and delivery. And when she got to labor and delivery, the labor and delivery nurse called me and said, Dr. T, he has flipped. So they had my records in labor and delivery, and they saw that the baby was head down, but in the last week he had flipped. So he was breech. So I talked to Tina. I said, hey T, I said, here's the thing. We know you can deliver vaginally because you've had a vaginal delivery. But here's the problem. With breech babies, the body is tiny and the head is big, and the tiny body comes out first very easily, but then you have to struggle to get the big head out, and sometimes that causes neurologic damage. So right away Tina said, C-section, I want a C-section. I said, okay, no problem. So we got her all ready, put in an epidural, prepped her, draped her, got her all set. We're ready for surgery. The anesthesiologist tested her anesthesia and said, okay, everything's good, you can cut, Dr. Taylor. And so, I was standing there at the operating table and I glanced up at the clock. It was 2 minutes before midnight on Christmas Eve. So I looked at Tina and I said, T, do you want a Christmas Eve baby or a Christmas Day baby? And right away she said, Christmas Eve. So I said, no problem. And I went, boom. I delivered him 40 seconds before midnight. So Cody is a Christmas Eve baby. So I have really special relationships with a lot of patients, and Tina's one of my most special patients. And you know what she's done? She is so wise because she has used me as a consultant the entire time she's been raising her kids. So when her daughter Lauren was 10 years old, Tina called me and said, she's asking me questions about sex. I'm going to hand the phone to her. You talk to her. So she handed the phone to her daughter, and I talked to her about sex. And then when her son Cody was 9, Tina called me and said, Cody has discovered online porn. I want you to talk to him. So I got on the phone and talked to him. And here's what he said. He gets on the phone, he says, Dr. Barb, they all call me Dr. Barb. He says, my brain knows I shouldn't go to the computer, but my feet just keep taking me there. I swear to God, that's what he said. I couldn't make something like that up. And then when her daughter Lauren was 18, I got a voicemail on my phone. And it was Lauren. And she left a message that said, hi, Dr. Barb, this is Lauren. My mom told me to call you because she said, you could give me some really good recommendations, because, my boobs, they're just too small and they don't even match. One is bigger than the other and I need a boob job and could you give me some recommendations? So call me back, please. So I listened to this message and I hit redial. And Lauren picked up the phone. And she says, hello. I said, are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? You can't get a boob job. You're 18. You can't get a boob job until you're 40. After all your pregnancies and all your breastfeeding. And by the way, everyone's boobs are asymmetric. Yours are perfect. Leave them alone. Put your mom on the phone. So Tina gets on the phone. She says, hello? And I said, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? I can't believe you've let her talk you into a boob job when she's only 18. And Tina says, I haven't let her talk me into anything. Haven't you figured it out? I said, haven't I figured what out? She says, I don't deal with anything that's uncomfortable with my children. I just call you and let you be the bad guy. So this is the role I have played in in Lauren and Cody's lives, their whole lives. So, for years and years and years, I lived out of the country, and I couldn't go to the Christmas Eve dinner because I wasn't in town. But then I moved back to Houston recently, and I got to go to the Christmas Eve dinner. And it was Cody's 22nd birthday. That makes me really old. So, I made little gift bags for each family member with all these goodies in them. And sometimes I don't know what gets into me. But at the last minute, I decided to throw in an old sex VHS videotape for each family member. So I put something like premature ejaculation into the bag for Cody. I put ejaculatory dysfunction for Wes, and big boobs can be fun for Lauren, and for Tina something like the best orgasm of your life. Just all goofy old tapes for which nobody has a machine to play them anymore, but these were these old tapes. They were just a joke. So I took them to the party and I handed all the gifts to them and I said, you've got to open them now because I didn't label the bags. So here we are at a party with about 40 people, family and friends, and Tina, Cody, and Wes all start opening their bags. And they're pulling out these videotapes and everyone is just howling. So Cody tells the story about talking to me when he discovered online porn. And there I sit looking like this next to two of his 22-year-old buddies. Again, I don't know what got into me, but I leaned over to one of his buddies and I said, oh, and that's not all. You want to know something else? His buddy says, sure, what? I said, I performed his circumcision and I made it so pretty. You should have him show it to you sometime. These kids, they were just dying laughing. So see, these are my babies and they put up with me no matter what. So the message here is that menopausal zest can take many forms. So here's a picture of the whole family with me. They're all my precious, precious, dear family friends. I love these people and I spend lots of time with them. So there's everybody. Tina's the tiny one on the end. So ladies, while you may see your menopausal zest as a way to shake others up, you may actually be lifting them up. They may actually be looking up to you, and maybe they're having a good laugh, but it's all very enlightening. I mean, what a wonderful, commendable, admirable example you set for everyone who knows you, and maybe even for some who don't know you. If we all had menopausal zest, they'd call our group the Flaming 50s. You see, in your 50s and beyond, you've got everything going for you. You've got experience, wisdom, confidence, determination, and freedom. And so, you know, you can even laugh at yourself by that point in time. And if you take all that and do something really wonderful with it, that is menopausal zest at its best. You know, the great thing about menopause is you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, and you know how to get it. So I say, go for it. No matter what zesty ideas or ambitions you have hiding in your mind, don't suppress the zest. Let it show, let it flow, and let everyone else benefit from it. You see, there are some things about menopause that are just plain fantastic, and menopausal zest is one of them. So take that with you until I see you next week. In the meantime, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to my website, sign up for something fun, and I'll see you again in a week. Bye.